Hello, my name is Paul Gruber. Been a resident here in Durbin Crossing for a little over 10 years now, and I'm also a realtor with Florida Welcome Home Real Estate, which is located right here in Durbin Crossing. So I guess I am all things Durbin. And so what I thought I would do today is a deep dive into the Durbin Crossing real estate market. It sounds a little mathy, I know, and probably is a little mathy. But there are more than 2,000 homes in Durbin. Those homes appeal to a variety of different buyers. For example, we have multifamily units, which are the townhomes over off St. John's Parkway. And we have single family homes that sit on lots ranging from 43 feet wide to 83 foot wide. For the buyers that are interested in the school district, we actually have components of this development that attend different schools for the K through 8 grades. And finally, the part that's most interesting to most buyers is price. And those ranged from $250,000 to a little over $1 million in 2022. Therefore, if you really want to understand what is happening in the Durbin Crossing market, you need to go beyond statistics that are for Durbin Crossing as a whole. So what I'm going to do is go through and examine each one of those unique neighborhoods in Durbin. In the notes below, I've posted the start times for each neighborhood. In case you want to jump ahead to yours, feel free to do so. But for reference, my analysis is going to go back to 2017 in 6-month increments. And I'm doing that to provide you with a sense for what the market was like pre-pandemic in what I guess I'll call normal times, a more typical market. And then we'll go through the pandemic and kind of the post-pandemic period where the market got really frothy. And now we're starting to see signs of coming off of that now. So the data that we're going to review is going to be sales volume, days on market for sold homes, and sales price per square foot. And again, to get that number, that is the price that the home sold for divided by its square footage gives us that number. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the prevalence of cash buyers in Durbin Crossing, and I'll provide a few takeaways for each neighborhood. So let's go ahead and jump into the numbers. Okay, so the first neighborhood we're going to take a look at is North Durbin. Now, these are the neighborhoods off of North Durbin Parkway. Does not include Village Center, which are the homes directly across the street from Patriots Academy. Does not include Castlegate or Cresthaven, which are the cul-de-sac neighborhoods off of Veterans Parkway. It also does not include Tollerton, which is a cul-de-sac neighborhood almost directly across the street from Creekside High School. So what makes North unique is generally the larger lot sizes. North has 71% of the 80 and 83 foot lots in Durbin Crossing and only 17% of the 53 foot lots. And there are no 43 foot lots in North. North also has the smaller of the two amenity centers. For those of you that have been up there, it's primarily just some fitness and a family pool. And then there are portions of North where the students that live on those streets, they actually attend Durbin Creek Elementary and Fruit Cove Middle. Not everybody in Durbin Crossing attends Patriot Oaks Academy. And the sales price in 2022 for homes in North ranged from $500,000 to just a little over $1 million. There were actually 2 homes in North that went for over $1 million last year. Okay, so the first data set we're going to take a look at is sales volume. A common theme through most of the Durbin neighborhoods is a market decline in sales volume, and North is no exception to that. The second half of 2022 was actually the lowest volume in sales in the 6-year period that I reviewed. There were only 15 transactions in North in the second half of 2022. I think this is more a function of low inventory than no buyers. For example, right now there are only 5 homes on the market in North. And of note, outside of the townhomes, North typically has the highest number of transactions of all of the Durbin neighborhoods. So as you can see, 2022 numbers were down 44% from same period in 2019, which was what I call kind of more normal times. So almost half of the homes for that same period of time. So the next data set that we're going to take a look at is days on the market for sold homes. And another common theme through most of the neighborhoods in Durbin was an increase in the days on market versus the first half of the year. And again, North was no different. The second half of 2022, you can see it right here, did tick up from the first half. So it jumped up to 25 days on the market versus 15 days on the market in the first half of the year. But what I'd really like you to take a look at is going back to what I kind of refer to as normal times, 2017 through 2019, median days on market was over 50 days. So even though we did jump up a little bit in the second half of 2022, we're still half of what those numbers were in that 2017 to 2019 period, taking less than a month to go under contract for the homes that sold. Okay, so this is the slide everybody's been waiting to see, which is prices, right? So again, this is the sold price per square foot. And if you're not familiar with that number, how we achieved that number, it is the price the home sold for divided by the climate controlled square footage of the home, and that yields that number. So looking at this, prior to the pandemic, if you look at 27 through 2019, median price per square foot in North never eclipsed $150 a square foot. 2020, we finally punched through that number, and then rapid increase in prices in 2021 and 2022. We are off of the peak, which was set in the first half of 2022, but ever so slightly in North. And in fact, if you bought a home in here 2019 or prior, you're going to love the appreciation you had, 64% since 2019. 64%. All right, so let's wrap up North and put a bow on it here real quick, just to reiterate what we saw in the second half of 2022. So we saw a decline in the number of closed transactions, actually the lowest in the 6-year period I looked at. There were only 15 closed transactions for that period of time. Probably more a function of low inventory than a decrease in buyers. As I mentioned, as of today, which is January 5th, there's only 5 homes on the market in North. Additionally, low days on market compared to pre-pandemic. So as I shared with you, pre-pandemic, 17 through 19 days on market were 50 days. We ticked up a little bit in the second half of the year, but it's still remarkably low at 25 days. And so I think that combination of low inventory, low days on market, kind of offset the increase in interest rates that may be pushing some buyers to the sidelines, and it helped stabilize our prices. And that was evidenced by only a 2% decline off of our peak, which was set in the first half of 2022, but still up 18% over the same period in 2021. So, and then the last point is cash buyers. There's been a lot of discussion about our cash buyers really driving the markets these days. Certainly not the case in North Durbin. There were only 5 cash buyers in 2022, and the high watermark for the 6-year period that I looked at, was 6 in 2019. All right, let's cross Longleaf Parkway and head over to South Durbin. And again, this is the neighborhoods off South Durbin Parkway, Willowway Parkway, and Islebrook Parkway. What makes South unique is its broad mix of lots ranging from 53-footers up to 80-foot wide lots. It also contains the primary amenity center. So this includes the full fitness center, the banquet and meeting room, the slide, zero depth entry, lap pool. The food trucks are up there every Friday night, and most of the development events also occur at that amenity center. The county baseball complex and the lacrosse and soccer fields are also within the South Durbin neighborhoods. And South is 100% Patriot Oaks Academy, unlike some of the other areas in Durbin Crossing. Sales prices in 2022 ranged from $471,000 to $860,000. Okay, so let's take a look at the sales volume for the second half of 2022 in South Durbin. Similar story to North, a significant drop in the number of closed transactions. There were only 12 sales in the second half of 2022 in South. Now, just like North, this marks the lowest volume in the 6-year period that I looked at. And actually, if you look back to, what I keep calling normal times, it's almost half of the volume that we saw in the second half of 2019. So a significant decline in the number of closed transactions in South. So the days on market story in South is significantly different than the story was in the North. You can see in the last half of 2021 and the first part of 2022, The median days on market for closed transactions was under 10 days. The second half of 2022, significantly different, jumped up to 47 days. Now that puts it kind of back on par with, again, what I keep talking about, kind of normal times, which was the 17 to 19 market. And so more parity there, but nonetheless, a pretty substantial jump in days on market in the second half of 2022 in South Durban. Okay, so that sales price slide that everybody wants to see. What we did see in South is, I think the increase in days on market seems to have impacted the sales price per square foot, as the July to December 2022 period fell from both the preceding peak in the first half of the year, but is also slightly below where it was same period in the latter half of 2021. But again, these rates are well above what they were in the period July to December of 2019, up 40% for South Durban. Okay, real quick, let's do a takeaway on the South Durban market. We did see a decline in the volume of closed transactions in South, just like we did in North. And just like in North, it was the lowest volume in the 6-year period I tracked. There were only 12 transactions that closed in the second half of 2022 in South. Low inventory continues to be an issue in South. Currently, there are only 3 homes on the market as of today, which is January 5th, 2023. Happy New Year, by the way. We did see a very significant increase in the days on market in South from the first half of the year. But again, as I shared, it's really kind of returned to more of a parity with what I call the normal times, and that was the 2017 to 2019 period, where we're seeing more of a 50 days on market for those transactions. We did see a 10% decline in the price per square footage from the peak, which was January to June 2022, and we're also down 3% from the same period in 2021. Cash buyers, not really a significant player in South. Only 5 transactions in 2022 were cash transactions. And looking back, the other highest watermark was in 2019. There were 3 cash buyers in South. So not a factor there, really. All right, so let's move on to Village Center, which is the neighborhood directly across the street from Patriot Oaks Academy and where I see all the biker gangs every morning going to school. Just to share with you, most of my analysis in Durbin Crossing has been for the period of 2017 to 2022. But for Village Center, I'm excluding 2017 because there was still new construction in there. And I don't want to muddy the waters with new construction versus resale. So I'm excluding 2017 for Village Center. What makes Village Center unique, though, is the lot uniformity. So all of the lots in there are 43-foot lots. And that neighborhood is also 100% Patriot Oaks Academy. In 2022, home prices in there ranged from $440,000 to $610,000. Again, this is Village Center. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the sales volume in Village Center for the second half of 2022. Again, just like North and South Durban, Village Center had a decline in the number of closed transactions in the second half of the year. Compared to the first half of the year, there were 5 closed transactions, but this was not a low watermark for Village Center. That was actually a year ago in July to December 2021, in which there were only 3 closed transactions. And so again, this is kind of indicative of low inventory, which is great for the people that live in Village Center. It means there's not turnover and everybody loves where they live. But again, as of today, January 5th, 2023, there's only 1 home for sale in Village Center. Okay, so now we're going to take a quick look at the days on market for those closed transactions in Village Center for the second half of the year. Again, unbelievably low median days on market for those closed transactions. Just an ever so slight uptick from 15 days to 16 days on median. But again, if you look back to kind of those normal market days, we're looking at a median days on market of over 30 days. So still just well below what it was in kind of a normal market. Okay, so here we are at that sales price slide, which everybody is anxious to see for their development. And I don't know what it is in the water in Village Center. Nobody wants to move, and your prices continue to set new records. So a little bit of a rarity in the second half of 2022 actually increased the selling price per square foot over its previous high water mark, which was in the first half of the year. So a nice little bump up there, and actually up a whopping 79% from where the market was in the second half of 2019. So Village Center's got it going on. Okay, so quick takeaways on Village Center. As I mentioned, there was a decline in the number of closed transactions in the second half of the year, but it's not the lowest that we saw in the 5-year period that I tracked. Low inventory in Village Center. Nobody wants to move. They love it there, as evidenced by there's only one home for sale currently today, January 5th, 2023. Days on market also remains very stable, just a 1-day increase from the first half of the year. So very low days on market. And so that has yielded a 15% increase in the sold price per square foot versus the previous high water mark that was set in the first half of January 2022, and up a remarkable 35% from the July to December 2021 period. Congratulations, Village Center. And again, cash buyers really are not driving this market. There were only 3 in Village Center in 2022, and the high water mark for the period that I looked at was 2019, where there were 4 cash buyers. Okay, so the next neighborhood we're going to take a look at is Tollerton, and this is the cul-de-sac development that is almost right across the street from Creekside High School. What makes it unique is, again, that lot uniformity. 100% of the lots in there are 53-foot wide. And again, that development is, or that neighborhood is 100% Patriot Oaks Academy. The sales prices in 2022 ranged from $435,000 to $659, let's call it $660,000. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the sales volume there for the period of 2017 to 2022. And again, a little asterisk, as we start to dig into some of these more unique neighborhoods, some of them are smaller than the footprints of a North or a South Durbin. And so Tollerton, is a much smaller neighborhood. And so you would expect to see lower volume, and that's certainly what we're seeing here. But just to share with you, the last 2 6-month periods, there's no change. 3 transactions in each one of those periods. And in the July to December period of 2021, there were only 2 transactions. So you can see, a pretty significant decline from some of these prior years. But again, you're dealing with a much smaller number of homes in some of these more unique neighborhoods. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the days on market. And like much of Durbin, the days on market remains very low. Now, this graph is a little deceptive because of this huge outlier number that occurred in the first half of 2017. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove that 6-month period, so it gives you a little bit of a picture of what the market really looks like. All right, now that we pulled out that outlier month or 6-month period in the early part of 2017, you can get a little better idea what's happening here. But again, the story is similar to the rest of Durbin. Still remarkably low days on market for the closed transactions. Although an uptick here in the second half of 2022. But again, if you go back and look at those early years, well below those numbers, and in fact down 51% from the days on market in the period of July to December in 2019. And again, we're dealing with small numbers here, right? There were 3 homes that closed in the second half of 2022. Okay, so Tollerton has experienced the most dramatic drop in sold price per square foot in Durbin Crossing. But again, I really want to caution, we're dealing with low volume. Again, there were only 3 transactions in the second half of 2022 and only 3 transactions in the first half of 22. Nonetheless, the price per square foot is below the high water mark that was set in the first half of the year. And it's also below where it was same period in 2021. But again, still significant appreciation if you bought in Durbin Crossing or excuse me, in Tollerton 2019 or prior. And again, asterisk, 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 low volume, 3 transactions. Okay, so let's quickly go through those Tollerton takeaways. And again, can't emphasize enough, low volume of transactions. And so, take some of this data with a grain of salt simply because we are dealing with such small numbers. But there was no decline from first half of 2022 to the second half of 2022. As far as volume goes, there were only 3 transactions in each 6-month period. A slight increase from the period of July to December 2021. But again, low volume. Days on market did double in the second half of 2022. But again, those are well below kind of those normal market days on market of 2017 to 19. And again, can't emphasize enough here, low volume. But for those homes that did close, there was a 25% decrease in the price per square foot versus the first half of 2022, which was the high watermark for Tollerton, by the way. And they're also down 14% compared to that same period of July to December 2021. So again, low volume. And then cash buyers were not a factor in Tollerton. There was only one in 2022. Okay, so let's move on to the neighborhoods of Castlegate and Cresthaven. And these are the neighborhoods that are kind of opposite each other on Veterans Parkway. They're cul-de-sac neighborhoods, so to speak. And what makes them unique is, again, that lot uniformity. 100% of the lots in there are 53-foot wide. And all of the students that live in those neighborhoods go to Durbin Creek Elementary and Fruit Cove Middle, not Patriot Oaks Academy. And then everybody meets up at Creekside High School anyway, so it's all good. And I should have mentioned this for Tollerton as well. Another unique feature of these neighborhoods is there's no thoroughfare. There's one way in and one way out. They're cul-de-sac neighborhoods. So I forgot to mention that for Tollerton, but Cresthaven and Castlegate are the same. As far as sales prices in 2022, they ranged from $455,000 up to $715,000. All right, so let's dig into those sales volumes in Castlegate and Cresthaven because there's a number of interesting stories here. Number one, unlike most of the neighborhoods in Durbin that we've already reviewed, Castlegate actually had an increase in the number of transactions in the second half of the year compared to the first half of the year. But that's not where the story ends. If you look at the number of transactions that they just did in the last 6-month period, it's a higher number than they did in any of what I've been calling the normal times of 2017 to 2019. So not only did they increase their numbers over the first half of 2022, they actually did more than any transaction volume in the period of 2017 to 29. And yet the story doesn't end there. Cresthaven and Castlegate had to continue with setting a big year. In total number of transactions closed for their neighborhood was larger than any of the preceding months that I reviewed, 2017 through 2022. So lots of new neighbors living in Castlegate and Cresthaven. Congratulations and welcome to Durbin Crossing. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at those days on market for Castlegate and Cresthaven and see if they're setting any new records there. Unfortunately, like many of the neighborhoods in Durbin, they did see an increase in the days on market from the first half of the year to the second half of the year. They jumped from 11 days for those closed transactions in the first half to 28 days in the second half. Pretty significant increase, but again, ridiculously low compared to those normal times of 17 through 19. So again, 28 days in the second half of the year for those closed transactions. And again, that slide, everybody looks forward to seeing the sales price per square foot slide. This again for Castlegate and Cresthaven. Again, just a slight drop from the prior 6 months, the January to June period of 2022. But again, pretty significant jumps from even the year prior. And oh my gosh, if you bought a house in 2019 or earlier in these neighborhoods, look at that appreciation. I think that's the highest appreciation of the ones that I've reviewed. I guess I'll have to go back and check, but that's a big number. Congratulations to the folks living in Castlegate and Cresthaven. All right, so let's go ahead and do the recap for Castlegate and Cresthaven. So the neighborhood was the only single family home section in Durbin to see an increase in sales volume over the first half of the year. For the year 2022, they actually had the most sales in the 6-year period that I looked at. So lots of new neighbors in Castlegate and Cresthaven. Welcome to Durbin Crossing. We hope you love it as much as we do. Days on market did increase in the second half of the year by 55% over the first half of the year, but again, still well below those 2017 to 2019 levels. Did see a very small decrease in the selling price per square foot versus the first half of the year, but still a amazing 24% increase over the July to December period in 2021. And interestingly, cash buyers did play a significant part in the number of transactions in those neighborhoods. 63% or 5 of the transactions were cash transactions. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the townhome neighborhoods in Durbin Crossing. And these are the neighborhoods off St. John's Parkway, both north and south of Longleaf Parkway. For analysis, I just want to clarify, typically I've been using the 2017 to 2022 period. For the townhomes, I've coned it down to just 3 years, 2020 through 2022. Why did I do that? Because there was still new construction in there, and as I stated with, I believe it was Village Center, I don't want to commingle new construction with resales. I just want to keep it a pure resales analysis. So that's why we're looking mostly at 2020 to 2022 to keep that new construction out. What's unique about the townhomes is it's 100% multifamily, and the students living in those neighborhoods are zoned for Durbin Creek Elementary and Fruit Cove Middle. And then the sales price in 2022 in those neighborhoods, as I'll go into a little more detail later, ranged from $250,000 up to $415,000. Again, this is the townhome communities off of St. John's Parkway. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the sales volume in the townhome neighborhoods. So again, significantly lower volume than 2020 and even 2021. But what is somewhat unique was they did see an increase in the number of transactions in the second half of the year compared to the first half of the year. Next, we're going to take a look at the days on the market in the townhome neighborhoods. And again, you can kind of see a steady increase from a low point in 2021 to where we're at now. But again, if you look at this number right here, for the closed transactions, median days on market was less than 30 days in the second half of 2022. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the sold price per square foot for the townhomes over off St. John's Parkway for the period 2020 to 2022. Just amazing appreciation when you look at the period of July to December 2020 to the same period just this past year, a 52% increase in the median price per square foot on those closed transactions in the townhomes. And in fact, they actually increased the sales price per square foot in the second half of 2022 compared to the first half of 2022. So seeing upward momentum in prices in the townhomes through the last half of the year. I'm going to close with this. So there was a writer and adventurer lived about a century ago by the name of Mark Twain. Hopefully many of you have heard of him. And there's a famous quote of his where he said, "The reports of my death are greatly exaggerated." And that was in response to the media saying that he had died when indeed he was just overseas traveling. So likewise, I think the reports of the real estate market's death are greatly exaggerated. I think they've changed, but certainly not significantly in the Durbin Crossing market. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can call me on my cell, which is 904-657-8846, or you can shoot me an email. That's gruber.paul1@icloud.com. Thanks. Have a great day and a great new year.